I'm William Kumwembe with Business Time. It is the magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And coming up in the program today, we speak with Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor Banda on strides towards containing inflationary pressure, among other stories. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program, headline inflation, the rate at which commodity price changes at a given time in an economy, remained stubbornly high, seen at about 33.4% in October. The central bank has been seen deploying effort in a desperate attempt to contain the pressure. It adopted a tight monetary policy stance to contain the pressure that have been brought about by the rising inflation. We caught up with the Reserve Bank of Malawi Governor, Dr. Banda, on impact of such a policy stance towards containing the existing pressure.
Inflation has been very high in the recent past, very much elevated. Reason is that from both the supply side as well as on demand side, we saw pressures. On the supply side, we are really looking at issues in the real sector, and here we're talking of maize in particular. There's been a shortage of maize in some parts of the country, and that has really contributed to the rise in the CPI, which is Consumer Price Index. With the coming in of all these initiatives that the government has put in place, distributing maize to the affected areas and the like, we think that is going to deal with the issues of supply side constraints, and it will have a positive impact on bringing down inflation from the supply side. On the demand side, obviously, things like money supply have been extremely high, and money supply has really been driven by so many factors in the economy. And we have maintained a very tight monetary policy, and we continuously tighten monetary policy in order to arrest that increase in the money supply. Thank God, in the past month or so, we are now seeing inflation taking a downward turn. We know that inflation has come down by 2 percentage points from a high of 34% in the recent past. We're now around the 32%, and we expect that to go down even further. Obviously, we are benefiting from what we call base effects. That is, the level of inflation last year this time was fairly high. So against this year, that level is kind of moderated. So we believe that those base effects now have kicked in, and we expect that through the rest of the year and early next year, we expect that inflation will be coming down. And we hope that by the close of the first quarter of next year, with the coming in of harvest and the like, rains have been good so far. We expect that will also reinforce that downward adjustment in prices. So from both the supply side as well as on the demand side, we are seeing some positive developments, and we think that a combination of those two will definitely lead to an improvement in inflation.
An extension would be what commentators have been saying. While the monetary authorities are deploying the necessary efforts towards containing these pressures, on the other end, the fiscal space, there are some challenges characterized by the of expenditure, for instance, and continued borrowing on the government side, especially on the domestic front. What is your take on this?
On the fiscal side, we have a program with the IMF, and that program basically speaks to fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation is where government expenditures are brought in line with the resources available. So what government is doing in the context of that agreement and in the context of the ECF is to ensure that it moves towards a situation where excessive borrowing is contained and all those things are contained. We believe that on the fiscal side, that is being achieved. And for as long as we remain within the ECF, those targets are going to be achieved. So we believe that that is going to be contained. So I don't have that much concern on the fiscal side. We should all be mindful of the fact that we're coming from a very difficult period. We've had so many shocks, and the most recent shock, obviously, is to do with the El Ninos and the like, where government has had to spend quite a lot of resources outside what was initially budgeted for.
Remember, you're watching Business Time. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and moving on with the program. Malawi on Monday launched the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy. Speaking when he launched the policy, Finance Minister Simplex Banda described the policy as a cornerstone to achieving Malawi 2063. We have the whole story in this report.
Banda said the policy provides a framework to track progress, manage data, and evaluate success of initiatives towards Malawi 2063.
We need to know the impact of the action that we are doing. So obviously, you need to have yardsticks as to measure whether the action is making an impact or not. Therefore, the M&E policy gives us a framework and its parameters on how we can measure an action and its result and impact. That's number one. Number two is that it gives you the accuracy when it comes to planning. You can, because they say poor planning is planning to fail. So basically, how do you plan? You need to have data. You need to have statistics. Where do you get statistics and data? Then obviously it has to come from an action which is measured. And how do you measure that action? Then you need M&E framework.
UNDP resident representative Fenella Frost said the culture of performance management and accountability needs to be deeply entrenched in all government structures to contribute to Malawi development agenda.
I think that every country has a responsibility to clearly communicate how public funding is delivered. That's a responsibility primarily to the citizen. And so that's why it's so noteworthy that the government of Malawi has demonstrated its firm commitment to transparency through putting in place this M&E policy. What it means in practice is that government will be able to identify in a clearer way and communicate in a clearer way to the citizens how progress is being made across all aspects of the Vision 2063 through this implementation of this plan. And just to acknowledge that the government's clear leadership and commitment was demonstrated not only through the presence of His Excellency the Honourable Minister of Finance, but also, of course, through the presence of the Director General of the National Planning Commission. So I think their presence really spoke to the commitment of the government and, of course, His Excellency the State President.
The policy was launched under the theme Improving Public Sector Performance Through Evidence.
Businesses and investors have been challenged to leverage the capital market's potential for mobilizing sustainable financing for economic development. Capital Markets Association of Malawi President John Kamanga said this at the inaugural annual conference for the association in Banda last week. He rated the market as an enabler for growth across key sectors of the economy, including infrastructure, energy, agriculture, and tourism. Benedetta Chuandamia has the whole story in this report.
With the global shift towards green economy, countries like Malawi must think of sustainable means of mobilizing finances, with the capital market as an ideal platform to leverage such opportunities. Capital Markets Association of Malawi President John Kamanga described the market as a catalyst for growth across key sectors of the economy, including infrastructure, energy, agriculture, and tourism.
The conference is quite relevant, as the theme actually it says, in terms of sustainable financing. The issues we're looking at in terms of the role of capital markets, how does it fit in terms of the transformative agenda which the country is going through. For example, currently we have actually the ATM agenda, and you find that within the ATM agenda, the capital market fits in with regards to sustainable financing. A good example is that the capital market has got elements whereby it provides a platform in terms of sustainable financing within the mining industry. We have seen that at least the government has taken initiatives whereby some of the mining companies will be listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange, and in so doing is going to create wealth as well as jobs. That is part of the aim. But also in terms of the area which is actually within the ATM is the agricultural aspect. We are saying that at least the capital market is actually available in terms of through its what we call the sustainable green financing, that is the sustainable bonds. They will be in a position to issue actually sustainable bonds which could finance in terms of what we call agricultural practices, and this could be in terms of the infrastructure, like in terms of, let's say, the green belt initiatives. How does the capital market come in terms of the green belt initiatives, providing those resilient agricultural practices? A good example is that the building of the canals, also in terms of actually the solar energy, which would be help in terms of the drip irrigations, which is being done within the lower Sharia. And then if you look at in terms of the tourism aspect, actually you find that at least the stock market would be in a position to finance actually the sustainable finance in terms of the construction of hotels, which is going to be environmental friendly materials. So you find that the stock market is quite key, especially on the capital markets, by providing that element. We're also looking at it in terms of the carbon credits. Currently, the government has put up in place in terms of initiatives on how we can actually benefit from the carbon trading aspects. So with the carbon credit aspect, you find that the stock market is going to provide the secondary market of it, such that at least you can realize value. And these initiatives that have been actually even championed within the region, like our colleagues in Egypt under the African Stock Exchanges Association, they have taken actually a lead in terms of actually trying to sensitize, because we know that some of these products, in terms of these initiatives, the challenge is actually the capacity. And the stock market actually would like to come handy in terms of providing that capacity and then putting up the roadmap whereby we can have a framework. In currently, you find that our framework has been actually established. That is in terms of actually the guidelines which were put in place.
Stockbrokers Malawi Limited Equity Research Analyst Kondwani Makwakwa acknowledged the potential of the capital market to raise significant financing targeting development projects that are aimed at building Malawi's climate change resilience.
The capital market has got a huge potential. If we look back and see what the capital market has done, you would see that it itself is manifestation of what the capital market can do. For example, in the bond market, the capital market is able to raise huge sums of money in that area. We have also seen the capital market able to raise funds when it comes to listing. So yes, the market, the capital market has got a huge potential of achieving those goals. Well, I think the awareness has been a challenge, in my opinion. But we need to understand, I think, first of all, the implication of not investing in those sustainable environment, which has got a number of impacts, like the climate change. I think from where we are coming, we saw the cyclone Freddy, what impact it caused, just to mention that. Loss of life, infrastructure damage. So I think there's need for more awareness in those ones, and that's why we have seen that there's those guidelines being developed just to encourage company to have those reporting guidelines. You know, if we don't have guidelines, even company can mislead to say that they're investing in those green projects when that project is not actually green. So I think at the moment the challenge is on that information gap or awareness.
The first ever Capital Markets Association of Malawi annual conference was held in Banda under the theme Capital Markets for Recovery and Sustainable Finance, emphasizing the critical role the market can play in achieving economic recovery.
In other business news, agriculture is the bedrock of Malawi's economy. That is, when the agriculture sector performs well, the economy is also healthy. To ensure that the agriculture sector remains vibrant, the Smallholders Fertilizer Revolving Fund has launched a liquid fertilizer called Nano liquid fertilizer aimed at boosting crop production in the country. Our reporter, Daunga Sabola, was at the launch and now reports.
SFFRFM board chairperson Paul Kamlongera said nano urea fertilizer has been designed to boost yields while lessening environmental impact. Kamlongera said the new product would minimize challenges the country has been experiencing in the agriculture sector.
Oh, this is a very important product for us. For long, we've been relying on the granular fertilizer, and we have to ferry it. For example, when we are taking it to our markets, we require transporters to carry several bags, many bags, tons of bags of fertilizer, and sometimes even in rainy season it's difficult to reach the uttermost parts. So if it's just in a bottle, a small bottle, I think even for farmers, it's easy for them to carry it on a bike. They can carry it on a bike, they can carry it in their pocket and get to the farms, and they will be able to apply it. Once they catch on to it and understand how it works, it should be something that they will value tremendously. But also from the knowledge that I have, that they've tried it out in Malawi, they're saying as compared to other products, this product is proving to be very productive. So I'm sure that this will be very critical for Malawi. The pricing, I think, if I recall correctly, is around the same figures. It's not really anything expensive. And then it's environmentally friendly. That's what we were saying. We're looking at sustainability. We don't want to destroy the environment for the future. We want to be sure that we are using any products like this sustainably. So I can assure you there is no damage to the environment in that sense. It is on the market now, but in the coming few weeks we'll be sending it all over across the country.
Minister of Agriculture Sam Kawale said nano urea is more effective than conventional fertilizers, significantly reducing the cost for farmers. According to Kawale, nano urea is proven to produce higher yields, boosting overall agriculture productivity.
Malawi's Vision 2063, particularly pillar number 1, it puts a lot of emphasis on agriculture, productivity and commercialization. For us to achieve that, we need to be innovative in how we do our things. That's why you have seen the Ministry of Agriculture do a lot of work in the research department to come up with different technologies that will help our farmers move from subsistence farming to commercial farming. So this new product that we are launching today, the nano urea, is one of those technologies that we have tried, we have tested and approved to be released on the market so that our farmers can have access to it. Now this is one of over 30 products that we have released over the last 2 years, and we'll continue to release more technologies that can help us to increase production. Now remember, Malawi's Vision 2063 is not just about having enough food, but we produce enough to feed ourselves at household level, but also at the national level. But what is more important is for us to be exporting, for us to generate the much needed forex that will help the economy of this country to grow. Already we are seeing there's a good trend towards the commercialization, and that's why you're going to see us talk about agriculture productivity and commercialization more, because that's what we strongly believe is the future of agriculture in Malawi.
SFFRFM is expected to make nano urea fertilizer available at a price that is 10% less than granular urea.
Well, with that story, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program in which we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Thank you for watching, but always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Stay safe and goodbye for now.